we just came back from Barbuda here yesterday to Antigua, where we've checked out, and we're heading all the way to the BVIs here on our way to the US now. But first of all, we're going to go downwind, dead downwind, behind St. Nevis and Kitts. Then we will come up onto the wind a little bit, and hopefully the Genoa and the main will work just fine. Go across Saba Bank, so sunrise tomorrow we should be across this really shallow turquoise bank, and then all the way to BVIs, where we hope to stop in Virgin Gorda for the night before we head on to Turks and Caicos, and that should take us until tomorrow's sunset, so a night at sea.
Are you ready?
We're rolling already, so as ready as we can get. Roly-poly. Roll, roll. Downwind sailing. Again. All the way to the US. So we just sorted out all the sails, getting the pole off, jibing the main, pulling around the back of Nevis, and we are treated now to just a beautiful full moon rising. This is what night sailing is all about, and the wind is piping at 20 knots on a broad reach, doing 8-9 knots. Oh, heaven, heaven. "25 miles to go to the British Virgin Islands." We had a beautiful moonlit light night on a broad reach. Now I'm trying to go downwind as much as I can. We're in that dicey quadrant where you get a couple more degrees downwind, Genoa collapses, and we lose about 2 knots. Couple of degrees up, it fills, and we're doing 8.5, but I'm not going to make the gap we need to get through the Virgin Islands. Oh, I see them! Virgin Islands ahead! Annoyingly, our bang is leaking again, so it's back with its bandage. Second time it's been serviced. I'm just wondering if it's just got too much strain on it for these seas with a full main. And how is the boss doing this morning?
Having coffee.
Waking up. What our tent looks like. The back window open. It's quite cozy last night, wasn't it? It's a bit warmer than without the Bimini, but certainly more practical.
coming into the BVIs, and this is the largest raft of wheat that we have seen yet.
Stopped. Down with Antigua. I should keep the authorities away while we become illegal immigrants for down. In the middle of the BVIs now, passing Tortola on the right, starboard, sorry, heading down towards the gap between BVIs and USVIs, which is USVI right in front. Then we're going to go around the corner and anchor off of Yost Island. It's a pretty dark and stormy day, but we're almost there. First leg almost done. Never say done till it's done, but we're almost done. 15 years since I was here with a catamaran. I can remember banging up into the wind, bouncing up more like, trying to get back to Tortola to hand the catamaran back. Just going past the point that leads into Sopo's Hole. Very quiet. Not even anybody on the buoys. And a mooring buoy in Yost Island for 30 US! My God, we spent less than that in a marina. And it belongs to the famous Fox's restaurant and bar over there, which I visited about 15 years ago. Other than that, it's a bit of a boring bay compared to other places in the Caribbean. Completely populated by charter boats. And harbour in the BVIs, it wasn't so grand. And heading out this way, westward ho. Lovely day, quite a light wind, 12 to 14 knots. So just heading out between the channel to see if we can get a bit of acceleration. There's Jost van Dyke Island behind, Tortola, and then in that narrow gap we cross to the US Virgin Islands, St. John, and then St. Thomas. Just going a little bit off the wind, we'll jive in a minute, then head off to the Turks and Caicos over there somewhere. Juana's having our last call to her family for 3 days. Arrived to the Virgin Islands last night, came through past Tortola and anchored, or took a mooring in Jost van Dyke Island. And now we're on our way to Turks and Caicos, heading just slightly north of west. We need to go a little bit further north, but we're trying to get the wind acceleration as it goes past San Juan. It accelerates around this area.
Rolly, rolly before sunset. And even flappy, flappy before sunset. We are doing only 5 knots. Wind has betrayed us.
Sunrise onto a stormy sky. Our first morning out of BVIs. We're just passing the north of Puerto Rico on the west end of it there. heading towards Dominican Republic. The moon's up there, just about to set. The wind is about 14-15 knots. Just nice to keep us going at 6 and 7 knots through the water. Very well balanced actually. An early morning treat. A huge pod of dolphins, maybe, well, huge, 15 of them. Early morning rainbow, 7:30. Have a passenger. Hello. It's alright, I'm not going to hurt you. Where are you flying to then? A long way to go to land.
Beautiful day today. Day 4 of the passage from Antigua to Charleston in US, or day 2 since we left the BVIs. Rolling a bit. The wind kept 12 to 15 knots today, so we are doing a 6.5, 6.9 speed. To our port we have Dominican Republic, not that we can see it yet. And the sea has a beautiful blue color.
Crossing! Going downwind, past Turks and Caicos, beautiful sunny day, 18 to 20 knots, we're in the acceleration zone north of Dominica, going like a train, and above all, we are cooking half of our maki that we caught yesterday. It's so big, I'm not even sure it's going to cook on here. Wonderful. We're enjoying ourselves so much, we're not even going to stop in the Turks and Caicos. We're just going to keep on trucking. Going northwest at 310 degrees. We had the sun, the other side of the sails, so we're completely shaded, almost. Makes it actually a little bit cool, which is nice. We have full main, boomed out maximum we can, vang on pretty hard, retainer on very hard, pulled all the way back to the aft deck, around the aft cleat, onto the winch there, so we've got total control of it from the cockpit. On this side, we have full Genoa, hold out using a sacrificial Genoa sheet because I don't want to chafe the ends of my good ones again. And we've got four guy and aft guy in the pole, topping lift, 2 spare sheets, so it does look like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines going to the end of the pole. Should be enough. And just standing here, it's the smell of cooking fish. Mahi mahi. The water in the back of the boat is so blue. Well, we'll be crossing the Atlantic here. No land, no ships, no clouds even. Oh, don't you just love that sound? Down a wave. Spiral roll over the Genoa sheet.
Holy. Okay. Let's see how that one works.
Hey, look at that. We have gone from 9999 to 10,000 miles. 10,000 miles in 1 year. That's quite a lot. 20,000 kilometers. We sure are moving. This is the cabin down below while we're sailing. Nav station. We've got a second screen down there which we use as backup. 3 days done since the Virgin Islands, and we are passing the Great Inagua Island. The gap between the Great Inagua and the Little Inagua. So this is our first Bahamas island. 7 o'clock in the morning, going through the passage between Inagua Islands, and all of a sudden there's lots of birds around. bit lumpy coming through this passage. Got a bit of wind over tide. Should be nice and calm out the other side. There's the island. You probably can't see it on GoPro. Long, long white sand beaches, probably covered in weed. Some big sand dunes. We are trundling along. We're only doing 6.8 knots because we've got a knot of tide against us. The monster is up. 12-13 knots of wind. Pulling so long at 7. Really not much better than the main and the Genoa pulled out. But, well, no excitement in main and Genoa, is there? You might see that we've got it flown from the end of the boom to try to keep it out.
Reef. We will attempt to go in. Fingers crossed. We've spotted 3 shipwrecks already.
Northwest Cay. Not much of it, is there? Piece of sand in the middle of the ocean. We are sailing through the beautiful Bahama Bank. Just look at this blue. It's about 12 meters deep. And we're just skiing across the top. Like it, we're doing 7 knots and 9 knots of true wind going downwind, and the spinnaker is up for a very deep broad reach, but we're pulling the wind in front of the beam, the apparent. So doing 7 knots and 9 knots of true downwind. Almost feel like an America's Cup, definitely. Everywhere we go, the wind comes in front of us. It is indeed an asymmetric. The monster! Juana is treating us to a foot spa after we've both pretty much burnt our feet on the decks. She told me, come into the cockpit and have a spa. I said, what? Sure enough, we're having a spa. Meanwhile, look at this for instruments. We have 9 knots of wind at an angle of 140, 150. Apparent 6 knots, and we are doing 7.5. The monster is performing. The sea is so flat, it's just lovely. We don't really care where we're going. We're sort of going off to Cuba, but the sailing's so nice.
We stopped for a little bit of Atlantic swim. Wind is 1 knot.
They're just hanging around underneath us.
The little sharks.
Huh?
The little sharks.
Well, not so little. A couple of meters long.
Whoa.
We've just been for a little foray onto the Bahaman bank, which is like 200 miles by 100 miles, looking for a wreck, which we didn't find. So now we're heading back off the bank, back into the deep water. So time to take a video of this amazing colour. I'm just watching that we're not going to hit any coral heads. My goodness, just look at that side deck, what a mess. Genoa sheets, cutter sheets, sacrificial genoa sheets, boom retainers, guy poles, fore and aft, spinnaker tack line, spinnaker sheet, lifeline. Oh my goodness, what a mess. A view from the crow's nest. Well, I don't have a crow's nest, so view from the top of the pulpit. Early morning, sailing along in a westward wind for once. I've forgotten how to sail in a westward wind. Anyway, we're hard on, trying to get to Miami, that was over there, but we're unable to because this wind's come in a different direction to what it said. So we're hard on, just trying to squeeze past the Bahamas. Came from Antigua here to the BVIs with one overnight. Then we cruised along the top of Puerto Rico, across Dominican Republic, right up the back of Bahamas here, just above Cuba. And as we were approaching Florida, the winds died, and we're heading, as wind would take us, right up to this tiny little Bahamian island called Bimini. There's Miami there. So we decided to stay for a couple of days. Sudden change of plans. We're going to the Bahamas. We've been around them for the last 4 days, now we're actually going to them.
Beautiful blue color.
Hello. Horrible water. What a colour, just look at it. It's probably the nicest we've seen.
Why are we going north? We should just stay here.
bouncing on beautiful water. This is a little mini vacation that we get. Stopping in the Bahamas at Bikini Cay after 8 days at sea. Flying about all of 2 knots, and it is so peaceful. So out of 10, what would you rate the blueness of this water?
12.
This is Radio Beach in Bimini, North Island. The boat's just over there, and this is the beach on the other side. And the sun is just setting over Florida, along with the thunderstorms. This is the town of Bimini. You'd never believe the place is only 50 miles from Miami. Just like any other Caribbean island.
And they have lots of wild dogs.
Yeah, we just had a very nasty incident with wild dogs. On the road down there to a 5-star resort. I don't think we'll retire here, will we? Nope. What do you think? Nope. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. This is Resort World at the far end of Bimini. Quite a contrast to the village at the other end. Beautiful sea, although we think they've lost their beach in the hurricane. houses.
Yeah, let's choose one.
Little seaplane in the back garden. Go down quite nicely. I might even swap the boat for a seaplane.
Leaving Bahamas. Very nice. South Bimini. And we are now out of the channel.
Leaving Bimini Island in the western Bahamas. So we've had a nice rest and had a bit of a play for the last 2 days. And we are now heading northwest in search of the Gulf Stream. We've already got one knot under us. There's pretty much no wind and it's dead behind us. So we're just going to motor for a while and just relax after all our jollity we had in Bimini. Here's Miami over here. Bimini was a tiny little coral island, as you expect from the Bahamas. Lots of lovely blue sea. And we are going to head across to try to catch the Gulf Stream, which is right where the water gets deeper. It's actually a very narrow stream. We should know when we're in it because we'll be doing 2 or 3 knots extra. And that pretty much goes straight north up these tight contours until we get to the top of Florida, and then we are going to take a left-hand turn and go into St. Augustine, which claims to be the oldest town in the US. That will be our first stop in the US before we pop to Savannah maybe and Charleston and pop our way up the coast. So that's the plan today. Might change in another hour, but that's the plan right now. We are hunting for the Gulf Stream. We are watching the speed over ground versus boat speed. So at the moment we've got a full 2, sometimes 2.5 knots under us, pushing us. And interestingly, the sea temperature has gone up from 28 to 29 degrees because the Gulf Stream's full of hot water that's come from the Gulf of Mexico. And when we get in it, we should be doing 2 or 3 knots faster, but let's see. A lovely dawn off the Florida coast. Looks like another nice day of sunshine and showers. We're still in the Gulf Stream with 4 knots of current under us, doing 11.5 knots over the ground, that is. In a very lumpy old sea with 0 wind. Look at this. 4 knots of current with us. This is the Gulf Stream heading to Scotland. Right, it's at 6:20 in the Florida Sea. Nice to actually see it at sunrise without storm clouds around it. Bahamas, that expensive little flag. God bless Donald Trump and all who sail in her. There we go, we are legal. A little bit nervous. First flight from the boat, where are we sailing? Oh my god, oh my god. That was exciting. I'm so glad we tried it in light winds. My heart is going like crazy trying to land that while you're actually moving forward. Coming into the USA, heading west into the sunset. And what a lovely sunset they've given us. We have arrived in record time, supposed to be in there tomorrow morning, but the Gulf Stream with 4.5 knots of current has brought us here 80-90 miles earlier. Anyway, next up will be St. Augustine.
It is 10 p.m. pitch black. We are coming close to St. Augustine, and Glenn is trying to identify the buoy so that we can enter the channel safely.
Hello, I'm over here identifying buoys. Just having a very fast ride from the Bimini Islands here. We went across towards Miami, had a great sail up this Gulf Stream where we were doing 10-12 knots over ground. We had 4.5 knots of current, and then here we got out of it and headed straight across to Augustine, which is where we are now, just coming into the port here. We're a bit confused by all the lights, and didn't really want to arrive at night, but there we go. There's a dredger right here in the channel, and we're going to go through here, past the inland waterway, and up, and hopefully pick up a mooring buoy by the marina underneath the Grand Bridge there.
Cheers!
Cheers! Welcome to America.
Welcome to America.
Ah, where the land of 3G signal on Glenn's phone, and muddy water, and chilly. It's only 21 degrees. Oh my god.
30 tomorrow.